Hey guys, Caleb here with DSLR Video Shooter, and believe it or not, I have been making videos on the internet and running DSLR Video Shooter for over 10 years, which is just crazy. So I thought it'd be interesting and potentially helpful to reflect over a decade of things that I've learned when it comes to making videos, putting them on the internet, and running a business. So I'm just gonna go through a whole bunch of stuff that I've written down, and this will hopefully be helpful to anyone who's just running a business or a business online or a YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and jump in and talk about the first one, which is very ironic given the kind of content that I create and the industry that I'm in, and that is to stop focusing on gear and focus on content. I know I talk about gear all the time. I'm slinging new cameras and equipment all the time here on the channel, but it really isn't that important. At the end of the day, an A6400, a nice lens, some kind of tripod, and some lighting equipment is all you need to make videos. So I would consider that and focus on the gear that's going to make huge differences. So for example, going from your phone to a big camera with a nice lens, that makes a big difference. Using sound blankets to kind of dead into space, that's gonna make a huge difference. Buying a $2,000 microphone instead of a $200 microphone, probably not going to make that big of a difference. And the most important thing when it comes to making videos on YouTube is consistent quality content. I would much rather see someone make a good video every single week than spend a ton of time trying to get the perfect looking video and only produce, one or two things a month. Another thing I wish I had learned and implemented sooner was to create the best video ideas you have first. Often we come up with lots of ideas for videos, and what usually happens, at least for me, is the good ones, the ones that take a little extra effort, usually get pushed down, and I often put out mediocre or not as good videos because they're easier to make and I need a video next week. So I just kind of go through the list and find ones I can actually get done. But I think to grow faster, it's a great idea to just make your next video be your next best idea. Another helpful thing to learn early on when it comes to running a YouTube channel is ways to stand out. And I think the most important thing to do is consider the following items, pick the ones you're good at, and really lean into those. So the way I see it, there's a couple ways you can kind of stand out and become unique in your space. For example, my videos are very different from Gerald Undone videos or Film Riot's videos or my good friend Jem Schofield's videos. And that's because each of us have a different personality and kind of a different focus. So if you're getting started, there's a couple ways you can kind of stand out from the crowd. And the biggest one is going to be your personality. There's nobody else like you. Your demeanor is different. You could be calm or humorous, intense, upbeat, or a combination of them. For example, I find myself just kind of being a calm, phlegmatic, normal guy. I don't have a ton of humor. I'm not super intense or upbeat. It's just who I am. So I'm kind of leaning into that. I'm not trying to make my video super crazy or be super funny because that's just not really me. The style of your video can also help you stand out. For example, you could really put an emphasis on quality of your videos being above your peers, or the thoroughness. Take Gerald Undone, for example. He is insanely thorough, and that really makes him stand out from the rest of us. Maybe you focus more on advanced content or beginner-friendly content. So there's several different ways to kind of stand out, and I would recommend just leaning into what you enjoy and who you are. The next thing I learned is not to be afraid to mix it up and try something new. You never know what ideas or style of videos or kind of categories you can get into that might blow up. You might enjoy it a lot unless you try. Another important lesson that I've learned in the last couple of years is that there is no way to game the system. Sure, there's helpful things that you can learn and do to grow on YouTube and other platforms, but don't think that there's some magic way to work with your tags and title to get the algorithm on YouTube to promote your video. Again, focus on quality, consistent content and growing that, viewership. That's the best thing to focus on. Something else I learned that is similar to that last point is that everything changes. What works right now for my channel here in 2020 will not work 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 days from now. Everything is changing. So again, it's going to come up a lot. Consistent quality content, growing that audience. That's the most important thing, hands down. Another tip that I wish I had done earlier is to separate your A-roll set from your B-roll set. I have found if you want to make more content and make it quicker, more efficient, it's a good idea to have a set like this that's always ready to go. This is where you film the talking head A-roll stuff, or if you're a channel that does more voiceovers, have a place for that, and then have a separate spot or a separate table or desk or place that you can film B-roll. And if possible, have 2 different cameras so that this doesn't change. Lighting, sound, camera doesn't change. B-roll is where you can mess around and mix things up. That's really going to help speed up production so you can focus on the content and not worry about setting up and tearing down constantly. Come up with a clear post-production workflow and stick with it. One of the things that'll slow you down as you grow and start making more content is your workflow. So it's a great idea to spend a day, 2 days, a week coming up with a really straightforward, easy to follow workflow and have steps that you can go through every time you make a video. This way, every time you finish filming, you're not scrambling and hacking together some crazy workflow that changes every single video. Workflows are huge. If you're going to grow over time, turn this into a thriving business, you need workflows. Using spreadsheets is super helpful. I have a single spreadsheet for my entire production process. I can look at it and see every single video that is in progress, and it's really helpful to kind of keep tabs on all of that. I have a guide coming up, hopefully this year, that will be a content creator's guide where I'll break that whole thing down. You'll be able to download that spreadsheet. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed. That way you don't miss out on when that gets released. Next thing I wish I learned sooner is to use Evernote or some note-taking app that you can access anywhere, anytime to capture video ideas. So if I'm in the shower and I come up with an idea, I can reach out and quickly access Evernote, create a new note, and that way you have a huge list that you can go back to whenever you need new ideas for a video. Also, kind of tagging along with that, I'd recommend 2 different lists for this. Number 1 is just the brain dump. Anything that comes to your mind, no matter how dumb, no matter how complex, just throw it in Evernote with some idea of what you're thinking about at the time. And then personally, for me, once a week, I sit down and go through that list. I take the best ones and move them to my list of videos that I'm going to start working on. So 2 lists for video ideas, and you got to have some way to be able to capture that at any time. The next is going to be hiring a CPA or bookkeeper. Tax is very expensive, calculating taxes, and the more your business grows, trust me, it gets insanely difficult to manage everything, and it gets very complex. You start adding employees, all that stuff. So find someone you can trust. If anything, a bookkeeper, someone who can once a month, kind of keep all your numbers updated. And then I find having a CPA is a lifesaver. Someone who can make sure you don't get in trouble with the IRS or whatever country tax system you're in. So that is a massive, massive tip that I wish I had implemented much sooner. The next tip is one that massively improved my life, improved the life of the business, and that is to implement the Profit First methodology. There's a book out there, it's on Audible too, called Profit First. I would recommend you listen or read that. In short, it is a completely different way to organize the finances of your business, how to take the lump sum of money that hits your bank account, distribute it in a way that takes care of taxes, yourself, your employees if you have them, and your business. Wonderful book, just go read it. The next tip is to be smart about platforms and realize that you don't have to be on every single one. I recommend picking 2 platforms, one as your main and one as kind of a secondary or social platform. So for me, YouTube is my main platform. I have my website, which I also sell guides on, and then Twitter is kind of my primary social media. So having those 3 to manage is plenty. I do have an Instagram, but it's kind of a secondary, and same with Facebook. So really be strong on a couple platforms. Don't spread yourself too thin and try to post on everything out there because you're not going to be able to build that audience. So something I'd recommend thinking about. The next thing I learned that has been huge for my business, myself, and my family is keeping regular hours. And I'm talking real boring regular hours. I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's it. And there's a couple reasons why I think that's super smart to do, no matter who you are and what age you're at. First, it makes sure that I'm getting work done at a good time and I'm having time with my family or for non-work related stuff. It's very easy to slip into that dark road of working after dinner, after the kids go to bed, whatever, 24 hours a day. But that's super unhealthy. And I think it's way better to kind of separate personal and work. That way, when you're doing one of them, you're fully focusing on it. You're not trying to oh man, I really wish I could be working on a video right now, or oh man, I'm sick of work. it's just a good way to go. Another huge reason is burnout or getting tired. Sometimes I just don't feel like talking about cameras or researching them or testing them or even filming at all. I just want to be done. So having that separation allows me to come back Monday morning at 9 a.m. fully charged and excited to get back into video making, as opposed to doing it 24/7 and eventually just getting sick of it and just walking away from everything. The next thing I wish I had learned before I started this business, especially after I did, is to get rid of debt. Don't go into it, and if you have it, get rid of it. If you're looking for ways to figure out how to deal with debt, check out some information I put in the description, but debt is bad. It's just gonna hang around and really slow you down. So just get rid of it. Don't go into it in the first place, and you're good to go. Along with getting out of debt, the next thing and kind of the opposite is investing. So as you grow your business, or even if you don't have a YouTube channel, this is just a hobby, consider figuring out a way that you can invest. I'm not a professional, so I'm not going to give you specifics, but it's a really good thing to do so that we all don't wake up one day and we're retired and we're in big trouble. Another lesson I learned is the importance of having relationships with fellow YouTubers or people in your space. It is really helpful to be able to lean on other people who are in the same boat as you, to be able to commiserate, ask questions, and help each other out. So if you're in a space, reach out to other YouTubers, collaborate with them, get to know them, and it's just really, really helpful to know people in the space and help each other out. Another lesson I learned is not to be afraid to quit stuff. So if you're doing a video series or you promised a series of videos, you're not interested in it, it's not working out, don't be afraid to quit. That word is super taboo in our culture, but I love quitting. It just moves stuff out of the way so you can focus on what you enjoy. So do not be afraid to quit. Whether that's college, I hate to say it, whether that is other commitments or other jobs, be smart about it, use, wisdom and your brain, but don't be afraid to quit. It just gets this nasty stuff out of the way so you can focus on what's most important. Do and don't say is another thing I've been learning. So it's really easy to be like, oh, I've got all these exciting ideas. Hey, universe, I'm going to be doing this with my channel or creating these videos. Just don't do that. Just make the stuff, then release it and talk about it. Don't say, do. A really important thing that I've learned is that there really is no competition in this space. So when it comes to business, often we think of competition like, oh, I make a widget, they make a widget, we're in competition. But when it comes to content creation, because we're so different, like I talked about earlier, there's really no competition. If someone watches another YouTuber's video, that doesn't mean they're not going to watch yours. It's not a this or that. So don't think about competition or let that bog you down. Don't get jealous of other creators or think, or compare yourself to them. We're all in this together, especially in this space where everyone's super awesome and supportive of each other. So competition, it's not really a thing, and don't let that get in your head. Two more things that I've learned, and they're some of the biggest when it comes to being a YouTuber or someone who makes videos for the internet. And one of those is just to stick with it. It can be incredibly exhausting to be on YouTube, to be making videos. It's not an easy job at all, but if you stick with it, I think it'll grow over time. But stick with it. Don't call it quits. Don't throw in the towel. There's so many channels that have done that. Unfortunately, it makes me super sad to think back when I got started, how many other great channels there were that just aren't around anymore. And for most of us, it just takes a long time. Here I am 10 years into this thing and we're not at 500,000 subscribers. So it just takes time for a lot of our channels. So stick with it. Don't quit unless you absolutely hate it and it's ruining your life, but it's something that's just going to take a while. And finally, what I've learned from doing this for 10 years is that YouTube is really, really hard, but it's one of the most fulfilling jobs that someone can have. So if you've been thinking about starting a channel, realize it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time and it's going to suck a lot out of you, but it is incredibly fulfilling to make something and share it with other people around the world. And as you grow and build that audience, to be able to communicate with those people, to spend time with those people is a wonderful thing. And that leads me to thanking you guys. You guys have been such an encouragement over the years, and I am very proud and blessed to be able to create this content for you. So that's going to wrap up this video on just a bunch of random stuff that I've picked up over the last 10 years. Let me know what you've learned from your business or personal life. I would love to hear in the comments below. Thank you so much for being subscribed, for being a part of the DSLR video shooter crew, and I'll see you guys in the next video.